Hey CV, welcome back to another great year. I'm Mrs. Fake, for those of you who don't know me. I'm a reading specialist here at the high school. And I'm here right now to share with you 5 of my favorite books. Every marking period, I highlight 5 or 6 books that I call Fake's Faves. They're just the best things that I've read recently. And I think many of you, if you pick them up and give them a chance, will really enjoy them too. This first book I'm going to talk to you guys about, it's called What Happened to Cass McBride by Gail Giles. I have never, ever given this book to a student who hasn't loved it. I know that's a tall order, but I think if you try it out, this one you will probably love. What if you woke up in a coffin and you have no idea how you got there? You're unharmed, but all you know is that you have a walkie-talkie duct taped to your hand and an air tube that's allowing you to get oxygen while you're buried. What would you do? Panic? That's exactly what Cass does. Cass can't remember anything. She has no idea how she ended up in this coffin. All she knows is that she needs to find a way to get out. You can see this book is a pretty short read. You go through it very quickly. The chapters kind of go back and forth between in the coffin and outside to kind of show you what happens to Cass and what the people are doing to try to figure out where she is and what happened to her. Let me tell you, this book, it's kind of scary. There's a lot of action. There's a lot of suspense. When I read it, I felt like I could feel Cass's bloody knuckles as she was trying to claw her way out of the coffin. I'm telling you, it's a great read. It's not overly graphic, but it is exceptionally interesting. Definitely check this one out. My next book for this marking period is called We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This one has gotten a lot of attention recently. It's pretty popular with all kinds of people, boys, girls. Everyone seems to really like this one as well. They look perfect. The family in this book goes on vacation together for the whole summer to the private island that their family owns. There are mansions all over this island. They play on the beach all day long where their servants take care of everything. They cook them dinner, they clean, they take care of everything that needs to be done. But what you don't know is that while this family looks perfect from the outside, there's an awful lot of secrets on the inside that are turning things upside down. Honestly, I'm not telling you anymore. This book has a twist ending, and if I tell you anymore, I'm gonna ruin it. Pick it up, read it, you will not regret it, especially once you get to the end and you see what actually happens and what this book is all about. All right, next up, this was one of my first summer reads, and I could not put this book down. This book is called The 1,000th Floor by Katharine McGee. The year is 2118. Most of New York City falls under the shadow of this giant luxury tower that soars 1,000 floors into the air. All of the richest of rich people live in this tower, especially at the top. Avery and Atlas, who are 2 of the main characters, live in the penthouse, the 1,000th floor of this tower. This tower is so massive, there are parks in it, there are streets, there are city blocks, hotels, restaurants, you name it, they have it. They even have cars that take them from place to place in this tower. Everybody on the outside is kind of in rough shape. There's not a lot going on in the world because everything is taking place in this tower. They have so many comforts, so many things, and way too much money. They lead frivolous lifestyles that lead them to make kind of poor decisions. Follow Avery, Atlas, Lita, they're friends, and you'll kind of see what happens to them in the end in this book. It's so awesome. It's actually part of a trilogy, and I cannot wait for this fall when the second book comes out. It's a page turner. Every chapter is short. There's a cliffhanger ending at each one, so you constantly want to read on and see what these friends are going to get into. My one caution with this one, there's a little bit of scandal in this book. Usually makes it more interesting to read, but just be aware, it's mature audiences. So judge it, know if it's going to be right for you. I loved it. All right, next one, Scythe. This one is fabulous. Like, I can't tell you how much I love this book. I gave it to my husband this summer. He read this book. He loved it. It's also part of a trilogy, and we are pumped for the second one to come out. This one is Scythe by Neal Shusterman. Some of you have read Unwind in the years past. This is the same author. Picture a world where disease has totally been eradicated. There is no way for you to die. In fact, people jump from buildings and they splat is what they call it, so they can experience death, go to a recovery center, and come back a couple weeks later totally fine. That's the world that they live in Scythe. The problem is there's no way to control the population. So society takes things into their own hands and they start creating a society of scythes. Scythes are the only people that are actually allowed to take human life. What they do is they glean people. So they wear these robes, kind of like what you see here, think the Grim Reaper, but they get to pick the color. So some of them wear orange, they wear white, they wear diamonds, they wear all kinds of things. And these scythes just show up. They try to mimic what natural death was once like. They get the opportunity to use whatever method they want in whatever way they want to go and to glean people as they deem appropriate. Now, that's an awful lot of pressure and awful lot of hope that we're putting into human beings. And that's where the trouble lies in this book. This book follows two apprentices. They're teenagers who are chosen for their good moral character. They're chosen to be scythes because they think they can handle the opportunity of gleaning others. The problem is they're learning they're not sure they can handle this responsibility. The book grapples with who has the responsibility to take life, who's able to know the difference between gleaning someone and murder. This book grapples with all those issues. There's a lot of suspense, there's a lot of interest in here, and let me tell you, once you start it, you're not going to want to put it down. Definitely a must read. All right, last but not least is actually another trilogy. These I put on the list for several reasons. These are the March trilogies. There's book 1, book 2, and book 3. Now, they do follow in order. However, you could read them on their own. They could stand alone. These are graphic novels. So if you see, they're a little bit different in structure. Think that comic book style, lots of pictures, but there's a lot of text. Let me also tell you, if you think you don't like graphic novels, give one a chance. I used to be that person who said, I'll never read a graphic novel, and now I love them. March takes place in the 1960s. It starts actually with President Barack Obama's inauguration, and it flashes back to the 60s during the civil rights movement when so much was going on and people were fighting for their rights to be human beings. It follows the marches, the sit-ins, and all the incredible things that you see Dr. King in here depicted in pictures. There are just so many people in this book who have made such a difference. So whether you pick one of these 5 books or whether you go to the library and you pick one of your own, just go get a book, find something, and read it. Have a great day, CV.